Hi, welcome to Rev Sports. The test match is officially over. It started off with a lot of questions with the rain and the performances, but it's finally over. Uh, Historic and famous test win for the New Zealand side. Obviously, a lot of confidence going for them now. I've got Atroda, Gagi, and Shomit joining for the show. Atroda, get started off at you. What is it like at the venue at the moment? I'm guessing a lot of disappointed fans, but coming back to the test match, historic win for the New Zealand side. Atroda, can you hear me? Okay, I think there might be an issue. Shamita, why don't you take this? You're on mute. You're on mute. Yeah.
See, Ishan, once in a while, this Indian team is allowed to fail. And time and again, this Indian team has shown enough resilience to bounce back from reverses. Earlier this year, they did it against England after losing the first test. They won the next four. And I still back India to win the series. That said, once again, when your captain is fronting up and saying, owning up his mistake, saying that I misread the pitch, there is
Yeah.
very, very little room for we as reporters. We also miss, as Rohit mentioned, that are you are you pitch perfect? All 365 days a year. We are not. Sometimes we also miss our deadlines. We also miss stories, stuff like that. It happens to us, the reporters. So
Hmm.
when captain himself is fronting up and owning up the mistakes, there is not much room for criticism. Some some captaincies, I'll not say captaincies, some bowling changes raised a few eyebrows, like in the first innings when Team Saudi and Rachin Ravindra was teaching that partnership, that back end partnership. Why wasn't Bumrah brought back into the attack? But then again, he had a long spell to start with that day. Today also, Ashwin wasn't given a bowl until the very end. So there
Yeah.
are some issues, but this team will bounce back, and this team have shown enough character to score 460 odd from 46 all out, which is not easy. Basically, it's a game of three halves. One is 66 for 10, another is 408 for 3, followed by 54 for 7. On one more partnership of 70 odd runs, and I still think India might have pulled it off. But that hasn't happened in New Zealand. To their credit, played fantastic cricket, and all credit to them. They thoroughly deserve their victory.
Yes, absolutely. We'll try reaching Athruda again. Athruda, can you hear me? Yeah. I wanted to ask you, obviously, historic test win for New Zealand here. So, What's it like outside the venue at the moment? Your thoughts on this test victory, and how do you look at this whole test match? If you had to give us your whole a synopsis of it, and you're on mute, Athruda. I'll just unmute you. Yeah.
Yeah. See, today there wasn't a big turnout actually. I mean, not a lot of people came to the ground. Yesterday it was a lot more. Possibly the highest the turnout that we had seen was yesterday. Now they're all charging back. Probably they will. This is a very happening place in Bangalore. This part of the city is a very happening part of the city. So I think these people will go out and look for lunch. There are many eateries around, so they'll have a good time. Well, they appreciated the cricket that happened, that took place over here. I mean, we know that India suffered a fairly embarrassing defeat, but it was a fascinating test match if you look at it from a neutral point of view. I mean, from
Really.
46 all out to make a match of it, and almost putting themselves in a position where they could ask more questions to New Zealand was quite creditable, and that's why I say it's quite a memorable test match, because 46 all out in the first innings and 400 for 3 in 80 overs in the second. This doesn't happen often. It hasn't happened often in the history of cricket, in the history of Test cricket. So people of Mangalore have enjoyed this match despite the weather. They came out in decent numbers. I wouldn't say the numbers were huge, because every day there was some rain prediction or the other. Every day or the other, there was some rain prediction.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
in spite of that, they came to the ground and sat through the spells of rain when there was no play, and they appreciated the cricket played by New Zealand. So it was very nice being here, being in the M. Chinnaswamy Stadium to watch this match. And it was a good match. India didn't win it, but it was a good match actually.
Yep, you're right. I think absolutely fascinating. Gagi, I'll come to you. India couldn't go all the way, and obviously they did put up a strong fight. But we've discussed in the previous lives as well that there's only one winner and one loser. And even though they put up a strong fight, they ended up being on the losing side here. So I really feel, in my opinion, that first innings cost them. If you have to look at this whole Test match, a couple of pointers where you think we lost that Test match.
Yeah, I think you know I won't take this loss to the heart because it was one of those bizarre test matches that you have to have sometimes. You can't just keep winning. You can't always have the highs. There have to be lows where you learn from a lot of things. But I'll take it as a one-off first of all. And the second thing is obviously that first innings harmed
Yeah.
India a lot, and that was something you couldn't really recover from because you can't really predict what happens next and control every part of the test match. So if that first innings, we had gotten say about 100 runs more,
Hmm.
I think India would have been in the fight. But after that, yesterday as well, I think the second point would be obviously if we had one more partnership going,
Yeah.
I think India could have made a comeback. If we had 100 more runs, things would have looked a lot different. But again, it's because of the way that Rohit Sharma handled this match, the way that he came out on the very first day and said that he made the wrong decision, that he misjudged the pitch. I think that kind of does all the damage control because you don't really
Yes.
have anything to criticize for because all the mistakes that were made were accountable. Rohit Sharma held the team and himself
Hmm.
accountable for everything that happened. So when the team is owning up to all these things, you don't really have a lot to criticize for. Of course, now all that's left is for India to come back in the next match because
Yeah.
after this, building up to BGT, building up to the World Test Championship final, you have to win everything.
Absolutely, yes. I think they'll have to make a strong comeback. Shamik, Gagi mentioned having another partnership in that second innings, and we were discussing about KL Rahul also off camera. KL Rahul had to perform, in my opinion. I think he was the decisive factor there. If he managed scoring some runs in that second innings, India would have been in a much better situation. There were comments that maybe Ashwin should have scored some runs, maybe another partnership should have been built, but KL Rahul should have been that man. He's not been performing. There's something going wrong. Your thoughts on him?
See, Ishan, the thing is that if Shubman is picked for the second test and obviously third test, then KL Rahul shouldn't get another game in the series because you cannot do surprise after his 150. It would be preposterous to drop surprise. This Indian team have all the bases covered, but there is one elephant. There is an elephant in the room, and they need to address the elephant in the room. If
Yes.
I mean, you talk about KL Rahul's talent, his batting aesthetics, everything. Every time you say that, I will go back to a David Gower quote, wherein the master batsman said, "It's of no use having your Bentley Continental Park without fuel." Right? If
Mm-hmm.
KL Rahul as a batsman is a Bentley, then it's a Bentley or without fuel and on flat tires. Going ahead also, going ahead also, I think Washington Sundar should be considered in his place at number 6 or 7 for the Australia series. Washington Sundar
Yeah.
has been there, done that. He has performed under pressure in Australia against England, and he is praised from a century in the Ranji Trophy. He is a proper batsman. I'm not reading too much into this part-time off-spin bowling, but he is a proper batsman who revels under pressure. So KL Rahul, as I said, even if he is a Bentley, it's a Bentley on flat tires, and his test average suggests that India will have to bounce back from here, and I believe they will do that. But you cannot do that by carrying a passenger. There is no point carrying a passenger in this game.
Wow, all right. Some hard facts there by Shamik Da. KL Rahul, of course, I think all of us would have liked to see him perform, but if someone had to be responsible in a way, I think KL Rahul can be held responsible because those runs were absolutely crucial. Through, I'll come to you. KL Rahul again for you. Do you think Washington Sundar is the right way to go?
Come again, please.
Do you think Washington Sundar, like Shomilka suggested, is the right way to go ahead?
Myself and Shomik, we were having a chat about this last evening, and I quite like Shomik's idea because it's an out-of-the-box idea. When you think of a specialist batter, you don't think of Washington Sundar, but we must remember that he's actually a specialist batter. He's not a spinner. He's not a spin bowling all-rounder. For the Indian under 19 team, he used to bat at number 5, and just because he in the IPL he bowled some tidy overs, he got branded as a spinner. But actually, he's a batter. And for Tamil Nadu in the ongoing Ranji Trophy match, he's playing at number 3 and he scored 100. And he has scored runs in tough conditions, in tough situations in Australia and in India against England. So Washington is definitely an out of the box idea, and who will bat at that number 6, number 7 position. And it's a good idea, I would say, because who are the other alternatives? If you think of
Hmm.
alternatives, who do you have? I think the first name that comes to mind is Shreyas Iyer, right?
Hmm.
And Shreyas Iyer has had his problems with the bouncing ball in
Yeah.
several places, in several competitions, and in Australia he will be tested by those short deliveries. And Washington is somebody who has delivered when he played in Australia and under pressure. Those were, I mean, he scored some match-winning runs. So Washington is definitely an out-of-the-box idea, and a good idea, I would say, because primarily because there are two reasons. One is Rahul's form, and Rahul's form is not very convincing. It has
Yes.
never been very convincing, actually. I mean, there is no doubt about his class or his ability. He has scored runs. I mean, he has test centuries in Australia, England, and South Africa. But when we when it comes to consistency, when it comes to consistently performing under pressure, Rahul has probably been found wanting. So that's one reason. And the second reason to think about Washington is who else? I mean, there is Shreyas Iyer, and you can't think of too many names in the middle order.
There's
I mean,
a comment here, Atruda. Aksar
for
Patel.
the sixth position, number 6 position, we
Aksar
don't have so
Patel.
many names at the moment.
Aksar Patel, Atruda.
So I think Washington is is a dark horse. Yeah, he can be a dark horse. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Gagi, obviously KL Rahul, I think a lot has been discussed about this. We talk about some of the positives that we saw from this Test match. I think Rishabh Pant's innings was fantastic, and also Bumrah Gagi. I think that a clear asset for the side. India seems like a different team when they have Bumrah, and when they don't, they seem like a different team. So let's talk about some of the positives as well. What are some of the highlights that you noticed? Some of the takeaways which will help the side in the future?
Yeah, I mean, you don't even have to mention Bumrah at this point. He's the number one asset for the Indian team, especially when it comes to red ball cricket. He's right up there. He's one of the most incredible bowlers that India has produced. To talk about other positives, I think the biggest highlight that we have to look for is obviously Sarfaraz Khan, because in that second innings he really got going, and we needed that innings to come through. We needed one good innings, and it was Sarfaraz. He was only playing his fourth game, yet he took that responsibility on his shoulders and scored 150 runs. That's not, an easy task against a quality side like New Zealand in challenging conditions. When you have, legends of the game playing with you in the team, I know it must make, youngsters nervous, but Sarfaraz Khan is such a lion at this point, because you see how he's performed in domestic cricket. He's clearly transitioning into international cricket with just as much, strength and toughness, because it's not easy going out there and scoring that many runs in only your fourth outing for the Indian team for Test cricket. And what he's done, the way that he built that partnership with Rishabh Pant, it showed that he's someone who's ready to take on a lot more responsibility, and he's someone that can be groomed for the future and can be looked at
Yeah,
as a serious contender for a permanent spot in the team.
definitely. Yes, Sarfraz, I think has been working hard,
Yeah,
toiling. Yes,
good.
Shomika.
Yeah, Ishan, good that you mentioned Rishabh Pant in the sense that I mean we don't know whether he would be available for the second test. Akshayo and Shubhayan are
Mm,
our men on the ground. He didn't keep, and basically he for a large period he basically batted on one knee. So going ahead, whether he would be available for selection for the second test, that Akshayo and Shubhayan definitely will keep an eye on. But if I don't know what his fitness status is, but if Rishabh Pant misses the second test, I don't think that will. There, there is just 3 4 days gap between the first test and the second
yes,
test, so we don't know how it will transfer. But in any case, if Rishabh misses the second test, that will be a big blow for India because we were
definitely.
missing that X factor. Although Dhruv Jurel is a very capable replacement, but Jurel is no Rishabh Pant.
Yes, absolutely. Rishabh Pant happens to miss it. I think the Indian side will definitely miss him. Atrida, do you see any changes in the next Test match, though? Do you see any changes being made to that side? Can you hear me, Atrida? Yeah. Do you see any changes being made for the next Test match? Any changes? Yeah, you're on mute. Just a minute. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yes.
I well, definitely there'll be one certain change if Shubman Gill becomes fit. That's one change that is definitely that'll happen, and by all practical purposes, I mean Sarfaraz Khan has sealed his side in the 11, so KL Rahul will be benched when if Shubman Gill recovers. But only problem is the only factor is that. I mean, Sarfaraz will probably go back to number 6 instead of batting at number 2. Because when if Gill comes back, he will bat at number 3. Kohli will be number 4. And I
Yeah.
don't see any unless Rishabh Pant has any fitness issues, he will stay at number 5. So Sarfaraz will probably go at number 6. The
Six.
only other change that can happen is whether it's going to be 3 spinners or 2. Going by the track record of test matches or many other matches in Pune, it's a surface which tends to assist the spinners more than it does for the pacers. So I do not exactly see Akashdeep coming in as the third bowler, as a third pacer for the Pune test. So I believe India will continue with the two pacer, three spinner kind of a formula, and the only change that I see is Gill coming in place of Rahul if he
Mm.
recovers from that neck problem. Ishan.
Yes. Yeah, I think that's the kind of change that I might see as well. Gaji, any suggestions to that? Do you think this is the push that they might take? Akashdeep, do you think he might have a chance of playing the second Test match?
Yeah, I mean, we saw that with overcast conditions, we missed Akashdeep in the squad this time around. But when it comes to the bowlers, I don't see that much of a change. But batting, I think that's where some changes could be made because how do you leave out Sarfaraz Khan after a performance like that? You simply can't do that. That will be very unfair, very unjust to him. KL Rahul might go out, I think, but we never know. We might speculate and try to guess what could be the changes, but honestly, I think it depends upon the very last moment and how the captain and the coach is feeling about the conditions and the pitch, and obviously what they think they need to do and what approach they're going to take. So it's difficult to answer that question, but I think if we're seeing any changes, it might be towards the either the bowlers or KL Rahul and getting Sarfaraz back in if Shubman Gill is back in.
Yes.
Ishan, this test match, India had a couple of batting collapses, right? One is 46 for 10, another is 54 for 7. So, on the back of that, the team management just might be tempted to have a look at Akshar Patel in place of Kuldeep Yadav. Maybe that would be a tad negative thinking because you are trying to strengthen even your batting order even further. But given the way Indian middle order wilted in this test, maybe they will not do it, but maybe just maybe do you think about bringing an Akshar in place of Kuldeep?
There's a comment here as well. Akshar Patel. Yes, Atrida, go ahead. 1 minute, I'll just unmute you. Yeah.
Yeah, Akshar Patel is also an option. I think Akshar Patel, the Indian team preferred Kuldeep ahead of Akshar because of the X factor that Kuldeep brings in. And New Zealand in Test match cricket are not very familiar with his kind of bowling. In fact, in international cricket, there are not any other bowler who bowls that variety. So Kuldeep's X factor is possibly is what which went in favor of his selection in the 11 ahead of Akshar Patel. But Akshar Patel, yeah, he's a proven customer with the bat. But how much of a variety or how much of potency he brings into the attack is something we also have to see.
Yeah, absolutely. I think handy with both the bat and ball. So interesting to see if he finds a place. Before we end the show, Gagi, I'll just like to ask you. This New Zealand side is a team that's shown us that it can fight back. So obviously the Indian team will want to make a strong comeback in the second test, but it's not going to be so easy. Rachin Ravindra, great performances. They've shown some depth with the bowling as well. So before we end the show, just talk about the strengths of this New Zealand side and just probably tell the viewers that it's a team which can't be taken lightly, because even though India will be the dominant team looking to make a comeback, New Zealand somehow always finds a way in the game, which we've seen in this test match as well.
I mean, when it comes to New Zealand, it's always been a quality side, especially in red ball cricket as well. And when you think of the positives, I think one of the biggest positives to have in Test cricket is obviously batting deep, which is what New Zealand do. They bat till 8, 9, and we've seen how big of a difference that can make in Test cricket. We saw that in the second innings as well, when New Zealand came out to bat 400 odd runs, and that's what you want to see from a quality Test side, and that's what they did. And obviously, they've got some really strong bowlers, fast bowlers, and a really tough fast bowling unit that can really swing the ball and put the opposition on back foot. So I think those are the biggest strengths for the New Zealand team, both both batting and bowling. But India is no less. Let's get that clear. This was a one-off test. This was a bizarre test match, but equally entertaining as well. What I'm looking forward to in Pune is obviously India making a comeback, getting those decisions right, and having a great fight with New Zealand.
Yep. Thank you, Gagi. Thank you, Athirdash. Thank you, Shomit. I think a lot to look forward to in the second test match. I think Indian team will come back stronger. At the same time, I think New Zealand will also put up a fight. So it's not going to be an easy walkover for the Indian side. It's going to be a fascinating test match. So lot to look forward to, Athirda. We'll see you in Pune next. Hopefully no rain. And we'll catch you all as well really soon. Thank you all for joining. Make sure you like, share, subscribe. And we'll catch you up for the next live. Thank you.